There was still lipstick on the coffee mug when I walked into the kitchen at 3:12 a.m. Not fresh, not smudged either. Just present. Like a fingerprint. Like proof. I stood there longer than I should have, staring at it. My hands were shaking, but I told myself it was just the caffeine. Or the draft. Or anything but what I knew. The back door was locked. The lights were off. But her earrings were still in the hallway dish, and the lavender scent she uses in her hair still hung in the air like fog. Her phone buzzed on the couch. Once. Then again. And then it stopped. I didn't pick it up. I didn't need to. I'd already read the messages at 2:04 a.m. They weren't meant for me. Earlier that night, she'd left wearing a green velvet jacket she never wears unless she wants attention. The kind of green that looks black in shadows and radioactive under bar lights. She said it was just a bachelorette party. Her friend Lila. Karaoke, bad champagne, something about a themed scavenger hunt. I nodded. I even smiled. But when she hugged me goodbye, she smelled like tension. Like a secret already halfway out the door. I didn't say anything. What do you say? Have fun. Try not to rewrite the entire structure of our marriage by morning. She was gone by 9:13 p.m. And by 11:26, her phone was on the couch, unlocked, a thread of messages still open. They weren't explicit, but they weren't innocent either. Tell me when you're away from the girls. Still thinking about that elevator ride. You know what I want tonight. I read them twice. Then a third time. My face was hot. My hands were cold. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just sat down, and I stared at the coffee mug. The one with the faded good vibes only print she got from some hotel gift shop in Phoenix. The one she always drinks from when she's anxious. Or guilty. Or both. By 3:30 a.m., the house was silent except for the soft knock of a tree branch against the bedroom window. By 4:10 a.m., I'd moved to the front hallway. Lights off. Heart pacing. At 6:01 a.m., her car pulled up, and I stayed completely still. Not because I was calm, but because I wanted her to walk through that door and feel, for the first time, what it's like when the room is colder than it should be. She didn't speak when she entered. She didn't need to. Her jacket was inside out. Her mascara was clean. Her lie was already dressed for breakfast. And that's where the story really begins. She didn't notice me at first. The door clicked shut behind her, and she walked straight past the hallway where I stood, silent, obscured by shadow. Her keys hit the table with a sound too casual for 6 a.m. She moved with the kind of confidence people have when they've already rehearsed the lie they plan to tell. She went straight to the bathroom. I could hear the thump of her shoes hitting the tile, the zipper of her jacket, the familiar rattle of products being moved around in the cabinet. Then the water. She turned the shower on, full blast. No pause. No hesitation. That's when I knew it was her second shower that night. She always showers before going out, religiously. Hair straightened, legs shaved, some body oil that smells like fig and grapefruit. But this one was to remove something. Someone. I walked into the kitchen while she was in there and opened the fridge for no reason. The cold light flickered across a half-eaten slice of cheesecake we were supposed to share 2 nights ago. That same night she said she was too tired after work, remember? She went to bed early, earbuds in, back turned. That cheesecake had been waiting longer than I had. By the time she emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, mascara finally gone, face blank as drywall, I was sitting on the edge of the couch, still holding the fork I took from the drawer like I meant to eat something. I didn't. It was just something to do with my fingers. She looked at me like I was the one out of place. Like she wasn't the one coming home looking like a mannequin from another life. Ellis, she said. Just my name. No question. No warmth. Like a placeholder. I didn't respond. Her hair was wet. Her eyes weren't. That told me everything I needed to know. What are you doing up? Still no apology. Still no explanation. That's what you say when you're trying to flip the power. When you know the other person knows, and you're gambling they won't say it first. I couldn't sleep, I replied. My voice didn't crack. It didn't accuse. That scared her more than if I'd yelled. She wrapped the towel tighter. Lila had too much to drink. I stayed with her a while to make sure she got into the Uber okay. She always uses too many words when she's lying. I wanted to ask who the messages were from. I wanted to ask about the hotel. I wanted to ask if she knew her jacket was still inside out. Instead, I pointed to the couch. Your phone's been buzzing. She looked at it like it had just appeared from another planet. Didn't reach for it. Just stared. Then blinked. I must have forgotten it. You don't forget your phone at 9 p.m. You choose to leave it behind. That's when I knew she wasn't planning to come home. Not originally. Not until something, or someone, changed the plan. She walked past me, slowly, deliberately, like she was daring me to stop her. Upstairs, the bedroom door closed with a soft click. I sat there, in a room filled with coffee mug lipstick, forgotten cheesecake, and steam trailing from the shower she didn't need to take. And for the first time in our marriage, I realized I wasn't afraid of losing her. I was afraid I already had. And the scariest part? She didn't seem to care. By noon that same day, she was acting like nothing happened. She walked barefoot into the kitchen wearing one of my old t-shirts, humming a song she hadn't played in months. I didn't recognize the tune at first, but then I realized it was something we used to play on long drives, back when silence between us still meant peace and not avoidance. She poured herself cereal and made a point not to look at me. That was her strategy, I think. Stay casual. Don't engage. Maybe if she pretended hard enough, I'd forget what time she came home. Maybe I'd forget the towel, the second shower, the phone messages, the lipstick on the mug, the fact that she was lying before she even opened her mouth. I said nothing, just watched. She sat across from me at the table like it was any other Saturday, slurping her cereal, scrolling on her phone, occasionally laughing at something she didn't show me. That stung more than I expected. We used to share every meme, every half-funny video. Now she was laughing alone in front of me. I wanted to ask if she had fun. I wanted to ask how Lila was. I wanted to ask what hotel she'd spent 2 hours inside. But I didn't. Something told me she wanted me to. That asking would give her a script to read from. The pre-written, emotionally blank script of practice denial. So instead, I asked, "Did you remember to text your mom back?" She blinked. That was the crack. A tiny one. Barely there. But she hadn't expected that question, and for a split second, she froze. Then she smiled. Yeah, last night. Before everything got crazy. Another lie. I'd seen the text come in at 11:52 p.m. I'd read the preview on her lock screen. Her mom asking if she'd made it downtown safe. It was still marked unread. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. But mostly I just wanted to understand why she was lying so badly. That's when I realized she wasn't trying to fool me. She was trying to buy time. And time, in this context, was more dangerous than silence. Around 2 p.m., she said she was going to take a nap. "I'm wiped," she told me, stretching like a cat that hadn't just burned a hole in our marriage the night before. I watched her walk upstairs, counted her steps. 15, always 15, same creak on the fourth one. And when the door shut, I stood in the hallway for 10 minutes, just staring at her phone on the coffee table. She'd left it again. On purpose? Or because she trusted I wouldn't touch it? She was right. I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I opened the closet where she kept her overnight bag. The small gray one she only used when she wanted to look like she wasn't planning to stay out. It wasn't there. I checked the bedroom. Not in the usual corner. Not under the bed. I even opened the laundry basket in case she'd tried to bury it under clothes. Nothing. She had hidden it. Somewhere else. And that's when my stomach dropped, because I realized this wasn't a one-time slip. This wasn't a messy night fueled by alcohol and regret. This was choreography. Planned, executed, concealed. And I was about 5 steps behind. I made myself a cup of tea I didn't want and stared out the kitchen window, not even seeing the street outside. Just running things in my head like film reels. The way she rushed to the shower, the timing of the phone messages, the smell of unfamiliar cologne when she passed me by, subtle, woodsy, not mine. But there was one thing I kept circling back to. Something that had been quietly screaming at me since she walked through the door that morning. She came home wearing earrings, but I'd seen them in the hallway dish the night before, which meant at some point, between the hotel and sunrise, she'd come back home. Briefly, silently, and then gone back out again. I waited until Monday to do anything. That entire weekend, I walked around the house like a temporary guest, touching nothing, saying even less, and observing everything. Lorna behaved as if there wasn't a single hairline fracture in the glass between us. She laughed at her phone, called her mother, paid a bill in front of me, and even asked if I wanted to start watching a news show together. The same woman who slipped through the door at dawn like a whisper was now offering popcorn and shared screen time like we were 18 months into dating. It was surgical, like she was stitching reality back together before I noticed the seams. But I noticed. Oh, I noticed. On Monday morning, she left early for work. Too early. I heard the garage open at 6:17 a.m. She usually leaves at 7:10 sharp, always with coffee in hand, her bag packed the night before. But this time she rushed. No breakfast. No goodbye. Just tires crunching gravel, tail lights disappearing down our foggy street. I waited 15 minutes. I don't know why. Maybe in case she forgot something and turned back. Maybe because part of me was hoping she'd want to. But she didn't. I went straight to the coat closet. Not the one in the hallway. The one in the guest room. The one she used before we moved in together. She hadn't touched that closet in months. Maybe longer. There, folded neatly on the top shelf, was the green velvet jacket. Not inside out. Not creased. Just clean. Too clean. I pulled it down. Inspected every pocket. There was a valet slip in the inner lining. A small, perforated square of thin white paper that must have slid through the pocket lining. It was stamped with the name of a hotel we'd never stayed at. A boutique place uptown. A place with no connection to Lila. The date on it was 2 nights ago. No timestamp. Just a logo, a number, and the word Sapphire. I placed the jacket back exactly how I found it. Then I sat on the edge of the guest bed and stared at the closed closet door like it might change if I looked hard enough. My palms were sweating. I hadn't even done anything yet, and I already felt guilty. Then I opened her laptop. It wasn't locked. She never bothered with a password at home. I told myself I was just going to check her search history. Something innocent. Harmless. But the browser was wiped. Not empty, wiped. Cleared. No tabs. No bookmarks. No history. Like someone had formatted it for resale. And that scared me more than any name, any message, any photo might have. Because that meant premeditation. It meant that whatever this was, it had a framework, a schedule, a plan, and maybe even an endgame. I opened the downloads folder. Only 2 files. Both PDFs. Both receipts. I opened the first one, a confirmation email for a spa appointment in another city. One I knew she hadn't been to. The date matched last Thursday. She told me she'd worked late that night. The second PDF was a bit stranger. It was a rental car confirmation under a name I didn't recognize. Female. Same last name as Lorna's college roommate. Someone she'd fallen out with years ago. The pickup location? Not the airport. Not downtown. A suburban lot. At 11:45 p.m., my vision tunneled for a second. Not because of what the files said, but because of what they implied, that my wife might not be cheating. She might be living a second life. That night, I said nothing. We ate dinner like strangers, passed each other in the hallway like ghosts. I kissed her forehead goodnight like a man surrendering to a lie, just to see how far it would stretch before it snapped. But I didn't sleep. I lay there, staring at the ceiling fan spinning shadows above us, listening to her breathing slow, wondering who she became when I wasn't looking. And I thought again about the earrings. How they were in the bowl, then on her ears, then back in the bowl the next morning, just slightly rearranged. Like someone trying to cover their tracks, or someone else covering hers. That was the moment it hit me. What if it wasn't just her? What if someone else was in our house that night? That night, around 2:40 a.m., I woke up drenched in sweat, with no memory of having fallen asleep. The sheets were tangled around my legs like vines, and the air in the room felt dense, unmoving. The kind of stillness that doesn't belong in a house with 2 people in it. Lorna was sleeping beside me, or at least, she was facing the wall, motionless, breathing shallow and even. I stared at the back of her head for a while, trying to gauge whether it was real sleep or the practiced performance of it. Then I got up. I moved quietly, without turning on any lights, using only the glow from the hallway nightlight we'd installed years ago after a power outage. Funny how things that used to be about safety suddenly start to feel like surveillance. I wasn't looking for anything in particular. I just couldn't sit still anymore. My body was trying to outrun my brain, like movement would stop the spiral. I passed the guest bathroom and noticed something odd. A faint smell, not unpleasant, just unfamiliar. Synthetic. Like one of those fancy European body sprays you find at upscale hotels. I flipped on the light. The mirror was fogged, slightly. As if someone had taken a recent shower, but we hadn't used that bathroom in weeks. Not even for guests. I opened the cabinet under the sink, and that's when the first real shiver of dread crept in. There was a toothbrush. Not mine. Not Lorna's. It was one of those cheap travel ones, the kind that folds in half and fits in your pocket. Blue handle, still wet. Sitting in a mismatched mug with the logo of a diner we'd never been to. I stepped back, closed the cabinet, opened it again, like maybe it would disappear if I looked twice. But it didn't. It was still there, real, confirming something I didn't want to believe. Someone else had been in the house. Or worse, someone was still coming back. I checked all the doors and windows. Locked, deadbolts secure, alarm system armed. But that only made it worse. Because if someone had been here, they didn't break in. They either had a key or were let in. The next morning, I sat across from Lorna and watched her slice a banana into her oatmeal like she didn't have a third toothbrush hiding in the bathroom cabinet. She caught me staring and raised an eyebrow. "What?" she said, half laughing. "Do I have banana on my face?" "No," I said. "You're just glowing." And she was. Not in a good way. In the way that people do when they've made peace with something they shouldn't have. Like guilt had fermented into freedom. She smiled at me, but her eyes didn't move. That smile was becoming a reflex, something she used to keep the shape of her old self intact. After she left for work, I went straight to the attic. I hadn't been up there in over a year, maybe longer. It was cramped and musty and smelled like cardboard and insulation, but I had a theory I needed to disprove. The attic floor had dust, years of it, except in one corner near the vent, there were prints. Not boot marks, not big enough. Sneaker prints. Fresh enough that I could see the waffle pattern of the sole. Someone had stood there, watching through the vent that looked straight down into our bedroom. Watching us sleep. I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't even know what I was anymore. A husband? A detective? A fool? Some kind of paranoid clown obsessing over footprints and toothbrushes? I didn't go back downstairs right away. I just sat up there for a while, breathing through my shirt and listening to the hum of the house. It sounded louder now, like it had been holding something in, and now it was starting to leak. Before I went back down, I took one last look through the vent. And that's when I saw it, on Lorna's nightstand. A phone. Not hers. A second phone. Black case. Face down. Hidden behind a lamp. It hadn't been there the night before. I was sure of it. When she came home that evening, I asked her if she'd ever thought about getting a dog. She laughed, confused, and said, "You hate dogs." But I was watching her hands, not her mouth. And her fingers twitched, just slightly, like she was preparing to reach for something that wasn't there. "No," I replied. "I think we need one. Something that barks if someone walks through the hall at night." And that's when she looked up. Really looked. Her smile dropped. Not all the way. Just enough for me to know that she knew what I knew. And maybe worse, she didn't seem scared. She seemed relieved. She left her second phone out by mistake. At least, that's what I told myself. I needed to believe it was a mistake, that the carefully hidden black phone, propped just barely behind the lamp on her nightstand, wasn't placed there intentionally. But deep down, I knew it was deliberate. She wanted me to see it, or at least to suspect it. People don't leave secrets where you can't find them unless they want to keep the game going. I waited until she left for work. She kissed me goodbye, a dry, mechanical peck on the cheek, and said something about having back-to-back meetings until late. That line again. That lazy line. If I had been keeping score, it would have been the fourth time in 2 weeks. It used to sting. Now it just made my stomach feel numb. The moment her car pulled out, I went straight upstairs, opened the drawer, and pulled out the phone. It was cold. Powered off. No case branding, no stickers, no scratches. Either brand new, or very well taken care of. I pressed the power button. A plain black screen lit up with one word. Hello. No wallpaper. No name. Just a passcode screen waiting for 6 digits. I tried her birthday. No luck. I tried mine. No luck. I tried the anniversary. Nothing. Then I just stared at it, thinking. Thinking about the toothbrush in the guest bathroom, the hidden valet slip in the velvet coat, the blue sneaker print in the attic. And then, something surfaced in my mind, something I hadn't thought of in years. A name. Harlan. Back in college, Lorna had this close friend named Harlan. Never quite a boyfriend. Never quite a stranger. They used to text constantly, even late into our early years together. She always said it was nothing. He's gay. She told me once, like that alone erased the intimacy in their messages. But the way she talked about him, it always felt layered. Complicated. Unsettling. I typed in 427526, the corresponding numbers on a keypad for HARLN. The phone unlocked. The screen opened to a gallery. Not text messages. Not emails. Just photos. Dozens of them. Some blurry. Some dimly lit. All of the same woman. Lorna. But not my Lorna. Not the woman who shared my bed and made oatmeal in the morning. In these pictures, she looked different. Her smile was smaller, her eyes a little harder. Sometimes she was alone in hotel rooms, other times in cafes I didn't recognize, wearing clothes I'd never seen before. One photo was taken from behind a glass window, as if she didn't know she was being photographed. Another from across a parking lot, Lorna stepping into a car that wasn't hers. And then, the worst one, a photo of me, standing at our mailbox. Timestamped 2 weeks ago. She wasn't in the photo. Just me, holding a stack of letters, looking down at some bill or junk ad, completely unaware I was being watched. That changed everything. I wasn't just a witness to a lie anymore. I was part of something I didn't understand. I started scrolling faster, my hands shaking. In the Notes app, there was a single entry. 4 lines, written neatly. He doesn't suspect. Keep the schedule tight. No names. No slip-ups. Safe until the 18th. Today was the 16th. I backed out of the Notes app and checked the contacts. Only one number saved. No name. Just the letter R followed by a heart emoji. I tapped it. The message thread was empty, wiped clean. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember putting the phone back. I only remember staring at my own reflection in the black screen, the way my face looked slightly warped. Pale. Foreign. What did safe until the 18th mean? What was happening on the 18th? And why was she documenting me like I was the one being followed? That night, she came home early. Not late, not rushed, early. She brought takeout. The good kind. The kind she only ever ordered when she was celebrating something. We sat at the table and ate noodles we weren't hungry for. She asked about my day. I asked about her meetings. Neither of us listened. Then she said, I was thinking we should get away. Just for the weekend. I stared at her. My fork hovered midair. Where? Somewhere quiet, she said, eyes gleaming. No phones. Just us. She took a long sip of wine and smiled across the candlelit table. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't dared to admit before. She was planning something. And whatever it wasn't meant to include me. I didn't sleep the night before the 18th. Not even a little. I just lay there in the dark, listening. To the creaks in the floor. To the heater cycling on. To the faint whistle of wind against the attic vent. But around 2:27 a.m., I heard something I hadn't heard before, a low, mechanical click, like a lock disengaging. It wasn't the front door. It wasn't the garage. It was the basement. Here's the thing. Our basement door had been painted shut for 2 years. Ever since a pipe burst and warped the frame. We never used it. The only key we had was jammed in the laundry drawer with old batteries and expired coupons. We'd agreed to seal it off until we could afford proper renovation. But now I was hearing movement underneath me. A shift. Something dragging. Then silence again. I got out of bed slowly, careful not to let the boards creak. Lorna was turned toward the window, completely still. I watched her for a moment, trying to decide if she was faking sleep again. Then I grabbed my phone, slid it into my hoodie pocket, and moved down the stairs. Every part of my body was telling me not to open that basement door. But something deeper, maybe curiosity, maybe something darker, kept pulling me toward it. When I reached the bottom step, I noticed something strange. The doorframe looked clean. Fresh. No dust, no cracks in the paint. Like someone had been maintaining it from the other side. I tried the knob. It turned easily, silently. No resistance. The air on the other side was cold, not damp like a basement should be, but refrigerated. Processed. The light switch didn't work. I turned on my phone flashlight and took a few steps down. The wooden stairs were dry. Sturdy. No sign of rot or disuse. And then I saw it. A folding table. One single chair. A corkboard mounted on the concrete wall. And taped to that corkboard, in neat, organized rows, photos. Dozens. Maybe more. All of me. Me walking to my car. Me checking the mail. Me coming home from the grocery store. Me eating dinner, alone at the table. Some were printed from inside the house. Others from outside. Some from angles that didn't even make physical sense. Like someone had captured them from above or through walls. In the center of the board was a sheet of paper. Typed. Double-spaced. The title read, Ellis, Behavioral Drift Tracking, Phase 2, Internal Observation. I scanned it, my fingers twitching. Subject continues to exhibit passive compliance. Emotional resistance increasing, but no escalated confrontation. Refuses to engage directly with discovered anomalies. Estimated convergence window, 18th to 19th. Subject will require intervention if deviation continues beyond threshold. Current phase, unsure. Monitor for signs of memory rupture. I stumbled back. My heart felt like it was thudding inside my skull. Memory rupture? That's not language you use when spying on a spouse. That's clinical. That's programmatic. I turned and nearly dropped my phone. There was a second table covered in file folders. One was labeled simply, Ellis A/E. Thorne. That's my full name. I opened it. Inside were transcripts. Notes from conversations I'd had, verbatim. Dates, times, even my pauses and phrasing. There were pages labeled Trial Loops and one document titled Cycle 3, Deviation Reduction Through Spousal Implant. I couldn't breathe. None of it made sense. But every word was staring back at me in black and white. A new page slid out from behind the others as I flipped. It looked fresher, printed on brighter paper. No dust. No smudge. Just 5 sentences. Subject believes wife is hiding affair. This narrative is acceptable. Allows for emotional testing under false betrayal conditions. Do not reveal baseline. Do not reintroduce pre-loop memories. Let subject lead confrontation. If resistance exceeds 20%, activate break day protocol. Break day, the 18th. Today, I backed away slowly, hand covering my mouth, legs trembling. The room was too quiet. The air was humming with something unnatural, like a distant frequency just out of hearing range. I was halfway up the steps when the door closed above me. Not slammed. Closed. Clicked shut. And then locked. I pounded on it once, twice, then froze when I heard something from the other side. A voice. Lorna's voice. Calm. Even. Ellis, don't panic. You weren't supposed to find this yet. She didn't sound scared. She sounded trained. And in that moment, I stopped believing this was about infidelity. Because now, it felt like I wasn't just being lied to. I was being studied. I stood at the top of the stairs, frozen. My hand still hovered near the door handle that no longer turned. From the other side, Lorna's voice stayed steady. Not cold, not urgent, but deliberate, like a teacher guiding a student through a difficult lesson. Ellis, she said again, soft this time. I didn't want it to happen like this. But it's okay. You're okay. I didn't answer. Couldn't. I was half a breath away from losing my mind. I looked around the basement again. The files, the corkboard, the photos of myself in places I didn't remember being, conversations I didn't remember having. Then I noticed something strange, a small panel behind the corkboard, just slightly ajar. I pulled it open. Inside was a flat-screen monitor. Off, covered in dust on one side. And beside it, a journal. Handwritten. Familiar. I picked it up and flipped through. My own handwriting stared back at me, page after page. Day 14, still no flashbacks. Day 19, her tone changed today. Softer. She might know I'm remembering. Day 21, it's happening again. I'm caught between knowing and forgetting. I sank to the floor. This wasn't just a trap. This was my design. The entries grew more desperate, and then, slowly, calmer. Like whoever was writing them had made peace with something. And then I turned to the last page. One sentence. You chose this. Suddenly, a soft mechanical click came from above. The door unlocked. I didn't run. I walked up slowly, like a man waking from a dream he only now realizes was always under his control. The door opened to Lorna standing there, still in her pajamas, barefoot. Her eyes weren't afraid. They were tired. Why? I asked, voice dry as dust. She nodded toward the kitchen. Come sit down. You wrote it all down for yourself, remember? Before the reset. I didn't resist. I followed her. We sat across from each other like we had 1,000 times before. Only now, the space between us wasn't filled with lies or suspicion. It was filled with something worse, truth I wasn't ready for. I had a breakdown last year, I said slowly, piecing it together. Didn't I? Lorna nodded. Her eyes welled, but she didn't let them fall. You started forgetting things, she said. Not in the small way. In the fractured way. You were convinced I was someone else. That people were watching you. You didn't want treatment, so you made a deal with the team at Belmere Neuro. You asked them to test the treatment from the inside. You wanted to see if your mind could stabilize under pressure. The fake affair, the staged texts, the second phone, the hotel valet ticket, the toothbrush, all props. Why would I agree to that? I asked. You didn't want to lose your mind again. You said if it came back, The paranoia, the spiraling. You wanted to catch yourself in the act. You wanted to leave breadcrumbs. So you did. I leaned back in the chair, my whole body sinking with the weight of it. So this wasn't real. It was all real, she said gently. The nights, the fear, the questions, but not the betrayal. I never left you, Ellis. Not for a second. I closed my eyes, breathed, and for the first time in weeks, maybe months, my heart didn't feel like it was trying to escape my chest. Later that night, I sat by the fire while she made tea. We didn't talk much. There wasn't much left to say. The files in the basement were packed into a single box and slid into a closet marked treatment logs. I didn't open it again. I didn't need to. Instead, I sat with Lorna, her legs folded under her, my hand resting gently over hers. There were no more questions in that touch. Just warmth, recognition, reality. I missed you, I said quietly. She leaned her head against my shoulder and whispered, "You came back to me. That's what matters." And for the first time in a very long time, I believed her.